Okay, Brian King, UK Flowing TV. Today we're on site over in Wigan. We're at the late Greg Robinson's son's house. Greg, back in the 90s before he passed away, he was a local artist and art teacher in Wigan. He was very well known for his quirky paintings, as you can see dotted about in every room in this house, Dan.
Yeah.
To be honest, I won't mind one hanging on my wall.
And you can see them because they're not small, are they? So
no, they're not.
Save squinting.
We're joined by current UK Carpet Fitter of the Year winner, Dan Jones. Dan, how did you find your journey down this morning? All right?
Yeah. Like you said, it's quiet coming up north, isn't it?
It always is. Nobody wants to come up north. Right, we're on one of my jobs. I prepped it all out yesterday, so don't look too close, Dan. And we're reviewing what we're doing today, Dan.
Yeah. So we've got a working version of the Behr Claw. We had a go with this last time. They had one at the training centre. We thought there was something wrong with it because the head suspends and we couldn't get the kicker down. We've tried Brian's on it this morning and it worked, and then I've decided we'd have a go with my swivel head one. So we brought that in. Because it goes so far onto the tube here, the head is quite high off the floor on the Roberts and it's hard to push down. So we've gone back to Brian's. It doesn't push on as far, which means it's a slight bit lower. So and we haven't messed about with it. We've just set the back edge on, and we're going to try and do the rest of this job with it. When
we did the reviews on stretchers at Fitter, and we tried the Behr Claw, and we thought it were broke because did we use the Roberts power stretch?
Yeah, we didn't have a crane one there, did we? So no. It was all Roberts. So, and we've just found that problem with this. I don't think this is as high as the
it's not.
One that we were working on.
You can actually stretch with that one.
Yeah.
I think you'd struggle a bit with the Roberts one.
Yeah.
So that's the first. Like I say, we haven't really had a go with it. We've just quickly set it up and found this out.
So I mean, the idea of it is it's a power stretcher. You can fit your own power stretcher head onto it. It hooks behind the gripper, which has got these prongs on. They're angled away from the wall, so basically it's got these rubber guards you pull off that exposes the Behr's claws. So that goes behind the gripper. They're quite narrow. Well, I don't think you'd want a smaller gap than it would give you anyway. And if you did want a smaller gap, the carpet would be so thin, I doubt you'd be power stretching it anyway.
Well, I prepped this yesterday and I used 5mm spacers.
Yeah.
So I thought you're not really going to go any tighter than 5mm.
No, because you want to be able to move it backwards and forwards as well, don't you?
Yeah, because it was mentioned that the gripper spacing had to be quite wide, but I think that was the older models.
Yeah, the last one we looked at, these go flat on the end. I don't seem to remember them being. They was definitely fatter on the end, but
what, the one at Fitter?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could be 5 years in between production on what we've looked at once and this one, couldn't they?
I don't know. My mate Paul Sycamore from Janser, he rang me the other day and said we've found 3 Behr Claws in the warehouse. We're selling them, and he just gave me first refusal. So I jumped at it. I'm like for tools.
Yeah. So it's a tubeless stretcher basically, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, it pulls off the gripper.
Yeah.
All the tension's on the gripper. That's another thing as well. What's it going to be like on a concrete floor?
Well, because you're relying on the gripper, you couldn't come in with your glue not gone off or half set. I'd said that really on a concrete floor, if you could get a mechanical fixing
or drill and plug,
and an adhesive fixing, that it would be better. And I mean, if you drill and plug it or nail it, you can probably work on it then because the glue is only holding when it dries. But you do need to make sure your gripper's good. Concrete floor or wood floor, if your gripper's holding well, the whole stretch is relying on the pull of the gripper, whereas normally it's relying on the push of the back wall. So your stretcher's working the same. It's stretching the carpet and pushing, but the actual stretch is acquired by pulling on the back gripper.
It kind of acts like the crab, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've used the crab a few times. I've got one. I don't use it so much, but I've found it works better on a wooden subfloor gripper than a concrete one.
I mean, the fan on a crab is only about that wide, and you are pulling then off probably, well, obviously you've got double gripper, so you're pulling off 3 or 4 nails there. With this, it's spread a bit wider, so if you've got a couple of nails there and you've got your staggered nail in your next row there, you're on 6 nails with this, and they're apart from each other, so
it will take a bit more.
You've lightened the load basically on the gripper.
Well, it's an American tool. Once again, these Americans keep coming out with all these different stretchers. I don't know much about it, to be honest. It'd be interesting to see what Ruben, Floors by Southern Boys, if he's used one, what he thinks of it.
The thing I'd say first, because that stretched on, pushed on the gripper, we're ready for a length stretch. So I mean, we're going to go on this wall here anyway. So we're after a length stretch, but before we do the length stretch, we obviously want a bit of side tension on this. Now that to me first is something I would wonder where we're getting it from. So I would assume that you would use your normal kicker to get a bit of side tension on. If you've got bigger walls, obviously you could go straight off and do your sides, but when we get that into the side here, I mean, normally you'd want to stretch, we'd get it all up here, peg it on, we want some temporary stretches that way. You can't really do them with these, but me and Bri was speaking before and we're saying that you are pulling a lot of stretch with this, so you're 10 degrees, you would gather up a lot with 10 degrees, I'd have said. By the time you got to here with 10 degrees on, you'd end up with 2 inches of the wall, which you'd struggle to get out of the middle of the piece.
But to be fair, my stretchers are Crane Junior. It doesn't have a swivel head, so I can't stretch on a 10-degree angle. Really. So
well, you can put the poles slightly.
You can put them up, but if you're power stretching, I don't think you need to be that anal about your stretching pattern, because you're stretching it to the maximum on the length, and then you know what I mean.
And when you stretch the width, whenever you stretch the width, it does give you extra tension on the length, and the same when you do the length, it pulls the sides in. I know
there is a stretching patterns with power stretchers and things like that, but just personally, I'm not.
Well, I mean, a stretching pattern works on that piece of paper, and if you've got that room, it will work. You do come across things that don't fit to your stretching pattern, and so you have to bring your stretching pattern on in a different way, and maybe use the same pattern but twice in the room and stagger it to the side. But the stretching pattern's a guideline for when you start, and as you start to work with carpet, you know how it stretches, and there is different places you could stretch from to obtain the same result. But stretching patterns are fail-safe, basically.
Should we give it a go then, Dan? See how it performs.
So like I said, I'd have normally done something with my other stretcher, but we'll get some length on this first, and we'll see how it performs. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we'll talk about this as we go. It'd be the same as you looking at it yourself. So the first thing I notice is when you bring this to the gripper and you put it behind the gap, you just want to be careful that you don't scuff the walls. But your waste, really, you can't have too much waste on. So you'd have your 50mm all the way around. Yeah. So what you're cutting off is folded back against yourself. I am thinking that it might be an advantage to have that curled there, because as it pushes onto the gripper, you've just got to press it down. So you have to push the head in. I don't know how much we'll get on this, we'll try that. So we've got a first stretch here, but again we've got this little bump there. We'll see how we get around that. Now, so we've set that on there. So that's off now. So assume. Go.
Just giving it a good stretch.
No, it is, yeah. Oh, and you can see when that drops back onto the gripper that it's tight.
Dan, let the handle go down and the head go a bit further. See if that does. makes any difference.
Like that, yeah?
Yeah, try that. What's that like?
Yeah, works better like that. I mean, you can see when I let it go, it sucks onto the pins.
Yeah.
I mean, it's doing what we're asking it to do. I would just say that you're just moving a big square around, aren't you? So.
Is that as far as it'll go now?
Yeah.
See, I think if you were fitting something like a tartan, you'd struggle with the last, say, foot.
Yeah, because you can get so much stress with this, then you would. But again, in conjunction with some poles, you don't have to just have this, do you? This is something that you use when you feel you need to use it. If you find that you've got somewhere you need to get that, you can bring your poles. You've already got the head in. So there's a combination of things, but I mean, if you had a room with no walls, something that's inset, a big rug into the middle of something, you could fit it with that. I mean, it's tight there. Really is tight.
Is it something you would use personally? Are you impressed with it? Is it something you'd buy? What's your honest opinion on it?
I'd say in a big square room, this room probably, it's got some short walls and things. It's probably not ideal for where we're testing it, but this is where we've got, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I would use that in a big square room if I had it. If you had somewhere that had low, I mean, you could go somewhere that had a band of pipes all the way around the wall, so you couldn't put your tube stretcher on. Again, it's another thing to have. There's probably people who fit every day with it and use it all the time. I find when you get into this corner with this big block, now basically we would get that edge, well, get this on or that edge and stretch either way. So now the only place you've got to go with it is, but once you get used to moving it round, I think that's the way to move it, is lift this bar that's not here by accident. But again, that if you bring your camera over here, right, where it goes back under things, so Brian's grip it a bit tighter here so that it hides the drop down, then the pins won't go into there. But we've both seen that'd never get you again, would it? We'd know not to shove gripper right underneath things.
Yeah. Yeah? Well done, you like that, don't you?
Yeah. Once you've done a few with it, you do get into it.
It does give it a lot of stretch, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And Jansa are not paying us or asking us to do a review on this.
No.
Jansa told me they had a few, so I've bought it myself.
Oh, right, yeah, you
and
paid
this
for
is
that,
just
haven't
our personal opinion on it.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I can't wait to start using it.
Well, I'd never buy one. Simple reason being, you've got one and Darren's got one.
So between us, we can borrow it.
Yeah.
But Jansa had 3. I've bought one. Darren Ash's bought one. So there is one more for sale. So if anybody's interested, ring Jansa or Paul Sycamore. And it was £160 plus VAT.
Yeah.
So
But it's getting exactly the same tightness as it would with tubes, because it's the same edge you're using, apart from you're pulling that way. So yeah, no difference in stretch to a normal tubed power stretcher.
And it's impossible to damage the skirtings or anything.
Yeah, you can't really damage the skirting with this. Worst that could happen is you could pull the gripper up. Worse than that could happen, you haven't pushed down the head. You do need to be pushing this head down to engage the pins. Once the pins have come through, if you do let go, it tends to pull the carpet up, and it's still locked on, which is quite useful because then it raises it so you can just push it on the pins of your gripper. So I'd say that if I use this for a few more days, that you'd find a few little more knacks to go with it, and you could use it a bit easier.
Are you impressed, Dan? Would you use it, honestly?
Yeah, well, I would use it. I just said as I was going around there, I'd like to have a go in the square room. I think it'd be alright. I do reckon that the tube power stretcher is faster, but you've got to put it together and put it away. So if you probably added that on, you're probably at the same thing. But once you get used to it, you're moving it around. You know where to lift it. When you first grab it, your pins are catching, it won't pull up. As soon as you realise that you knock it back, it's off the ground, move it around. So yeah, I'm impressed with it. It's an extra tool you can have in your box, and you are power stretching. So using that, you're fitting to British standards, aren't you?
And you're not putting pressure on your knees.
Yeah, and you're not banging your knees about. I have made a decision to try this year and power stretch as much as I can. Stuff that doesn't need power stretching, I am going to power stretch it. Obviously I'm not going to hit it with full force. I'll just give it a bit more than the kicker would have got. So it's a bit tighter, and I haven't had to kick anything. And I'm going to force myself to take it to bits, put it together, and hopefully that it'll just be second nature, because I think I've pushed my luck for long enough on these, and I want to walk around on them when I'm retired. So.
What is it, 32 years?
Yeah, same for you as well, isn't it?
31 this year, yeah. But anyway, Dan, thanks for coming down. Another good review. Like I said, our honest opinion on it, I'm impressed. I'm looking forward to using it. But
I did want to say to mention that a lot of people keep saying, I keep buying everything you're showing on there. Well, you don't have to buy everything we're showing. If something takes your fancy, buy it. But basically, don't just go out and unload a load of money on ornaments, expensive ornaments that you're not going to use. Thing with most flooring tools is there's always someone else that wants it off you. So if you do buy stuff that you don't use, you've only got to mention it on a forum, and you've sold it, haven't you?
Yeah. Or mention it to us and we can advertise it for you.
Yeah. Like I say, everything you see, we're having a go with. We wouldn't buy everything that we're using, would we?
No.
So just choose what you think. If you do want to know more about it, ring someone, ring Paul Sycamore, ask him, ring Brian, don't ring me, ring someone else. No, but someone will give you an idea, and they'll say, yeah, I'll buy one. And again, don't take any notice if someone says, oh, that's rubbish, I wouldn't buy one, because you need to find out for yourself, don't you?
Yeah, you use tools I don't like.
Yeah.
I use the kneeless stretcher, what you don't like, what I'm still wounded about.
Have you got that thing with you?
I have actually, yeah.
I'll put them last few edges on with that then.
No problems. Anyway, Dan, thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, cheers.